Factsverse presents 8 Things People in History Did That Would Be Totally Weird Today. Number 1. Shaving off your eyebrows to mourn a dead cat. Today, when a cat dies, the owner will often cry. Some have their cats cremated and they hold on to the ashes. This was not the case in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians worshipped their cats. The goddess Bastet was the goddess of homes, cats, and fertility, and it was believed that she was a cat. If a cat went into your house in ancient Egypt, it was considered good luck. If you killed a cat, it was considered to be sacrilege, and you could be sentenced to death for doing that. When a person's cat would die in ancient Egypt, the owner would shave off their eyebrows in mourning. This is something that we would never do today. Number 2. The first boob jobs. Today, breast augmentation is very common, and it's considered a minor surgery. All that's necessary for today's boob jobs are saline or silicone implants. Breast implants were not always that simple, though. The first surgery was performed in 1895 by a doctor named Vinces Cerny. Back then, doctors would use glass balls, ivory, ground rubber, and stones to pack the tissue to make a woman's breast look fuller and plumper. Today, putting those materials in the human body would be unheard of, probably illegal. Most of these materials can't be sterilized, and you would likely end up with a serious infection after the surgery. Number 3. Dyeing your hair was dangerous. Today, you can walk into a store and purchase a box of hair dye that is completely safe and won't cause you any harm. The only risk of dyeing your hair today is choosing the wrong shade of color. In the 1700s and 1800s, dyeing your hair wasn't so safe. The ancient Romans and ancient Greeks would mix chemicals such as lead and lye in their hair to achieve the desired color result. These chemicals put women at great risk of lead poisoning and other infections. Today, these hair color products would be banned and removed immediately from the shelves. Number 4. Communal bathrooms. Today, the only people who share a bathroom are usually people who share a home. Even when you're in public, you get a private stall. Back in ancient Rome, things were much different. Only the very wealthy were able to afford a private bathroom. Those who didn't have the money for a private bathroom would use public lavatories, and it was a social experience. People actually enjoyed using the public bathrooms, and there was no embarrassment at all. People would just sit in the public bathroom, facing one another, having a nice conversation while they did their business. Number 5. Drilling holes into your brain. Today, if you suffer from any type of mental issue, you're often given medication, and you would see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. If you have a mental disability, there are certain things that can be done to make your day-to-day life easier. That was not the case in medieval times, though. If you were suffering from a mental issue or a mental disability, doctors believed that you had to have the bad spirits extracted from your brain. It was believed that the cause of the problem was spirits or demons, and the only way for them to be released was to drill a hole into your head. In medicine today, these are called burr holes, and it's only done if you have endured a brain injury and the doctors need to drill holes to relieve the pressure in order to save your life. Holes are never drilled today to help with any type of mental issues or disabilities. If a doctor today suggested drilling holes in a person's head because they were depressed, the doctor would immediately lose his license. Number 6. Women weren't allowed to cry at funerals. In ancient Rome, funerals were considered to be elaborate, formal affairs. In order for the deceased to be mourned over, they were hired to cry, scratch their faces, and rip out their hair until they began bleeding. It wasn't long before that was considered too extreme for funerals and new laws were created. Under the new law, women weren't allowed to cry at funerals at all. Even if the person who died was a woman's child or husband, they were still not allowed to cry. They had to wait until they were home alone to grieve over their loved one. Today, if a woman doesn't cry at the funeral of her spouse or a child, they're considered strange or unfeeling. Number 7. Roman fathers could kill their daughters' lovers. Today, there are many fathers who would love to kill their daughters' boyfriends. However, since this would land them in jail for a very long time, most fathers ignore their need to kill. But in ancient Rome, it was legal if the father deemed it necessary. Women weren't allowed to have relations outside of marriage. Even after marriage, women were still bound to their father's family. If a woman committed any act of infidelity, or if she did anything to embarrass the family and the family name, her father could legally kill her. This murderous practice was eventually put to an end, and murder is illegal regardless of the reason. Number 8. Animal poop was used in medicine. Of the 8 things people in history did that would be totally weird today, this is probably the most disgusting. Today, animal poop has no place in the medical community. It's dirty, unsanitary, and teeming with bacteria. This was not always the case. In ancient Rome, people used crocodile dung as birth control. In Scotland, sheep poop was used to treat smallpox. In ancient Egypt, pig poop was used to treat warriors' wounds. It was also used to treat nosebleeds. Fortunately, over the years, it was discovered that animal poop could not treat diseases. In fact, the animal poop would just make the patient's condition worse. Subscribe for more.